Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us Across the Fence. I'm Fran Stoddard. If you type farming into an internet search, you'll get results about food production, farm techniques, and the majestic images of people working the land. What you probably won't find so easily are business plans or inquiries on increasing farm profits while working less. A sustainable food system means farms have to be profitable. Recently, UVM Extension hosted the Ranching for Profit School to teach farmers the difference between a farm business and the business of farming. Keith Silva has our story.
It's time to move the sheep at Scuttleship Farm in Panton. Annie Hopper and Sean Williford raise grass-fed lamb on 70 acres along the banks of Lake Champlain. The two met at Middlebury College. She was studying biology, and he was majoring in international politics and economics. Owning and operating a farm wasn't what Hopper planned to do after graduation.
I was trying to get a job with my biology degree from Middlebury College, trying to work in sustainable biology, and I didn't want to work for the government. I wanted to work for myself, and I really wanted to be hands-on with the land and the animals. I saw the UVM Farmer Training Program, and I figured, oh, it's 6 months. I can give it a try, and here we are 4 years later.
Williford had an off-farm job before hiring on full-time with the farm last year. Raising lamb on pasture keeps the farm's costs low.
The reason why we chose meat production as opposed to trying to do milking or whatever is it's super low input. We don't have a bunch of big machines. We have an ATV that we go out and we set fence and we move the sheep, kind of with the ATV and by hand. We decided we didn't want to be mechanics, so we went for a super low input style, and that's really been working for us.
Once Hopper and Williford went all in on farming, they quickly realized there was more to manage than animals and customers' orders.
You start off and you're like, let's raise animals. We'll learn the technical skills of raising animals. We'll learn about grass management. We'll learn about machines. And then you have to step back and realize we've got numbers. We've got books. We've got all the same problems as any business.
I have a background in business, having worked for a finance company for a few years. So I'm, familiar with the idea of, financially how businesses are run. But, I had always struggled with how do you put values on these things that you're growing, these animals. How do you put a value on that and track how you're doing over time?
Farmers don't need to be told that farming's a business, or maybe they do. Earlier this year, Hopper and Williford heard that the UVM Center for Sustainable Agriculture was partnering with the Vermont Sustainable Jobs Fund and others to bring the Ranching for Profit School to Vermont. Dave Pratt doesn't own a farm, but when it comes to agriculture, he's all business.
But there's nothing more powerful than seeing results.
My business is Ranch Management Consultants. We do the Ranching for Profit School, which is a one-week business school for ranchers. It's not a school on ranching, it's not a school on grazing, it's not a school on farming. It is a business school on farming and ranching. The school is based on the idea that knowing how to raise livestock is not the same thing as knowing how to run a business that raises livestock. Two entirely different skill sets.
One of Pratt's takeaways for these self-employed business owners is to keep an eye on the boss.
We say when you're self-employed, your boss is a lunatic because nobody holds you accountable. You work on the things you enjoy doing. Those tend to be the $10 an hour jobs, while we leave the $100 an hour and $1,000 an hour jobs completely undone. And the problem is nobody holds us accountable.
Pratt teaches that accountability comes from knowing what kind of work makes money for your business and what's just a job.
There's actually 3 levels in any business. There's labor, there's management, and there's ownership. When it comes to the labor, we got that down. I learned that I had to work to make money. It's a very limiting way to think about making money because you can only work so long and so hard. And in fact, a lot of the work we do does not produce money. When it comes to most farmers and ranchers, they don't really own businesses. They own their job, right? And what we help people do is transform this collection of expensive assets and this set of physically demanding, low-paying jobs and transform that into a real business.
Hopper has taken Pratt's advice to heart.
We started out with a job. We started out with full-time work, something that kept us busy, but we didn't own a business. We didn't own something that ran itself, that really was professionally structured. We've really stepped back and taken a critical eye towards our farm as a business, and we've made a lot of changes just since going to these programs.
Switching focus from day-to-day farm chores to the business of their business made Williford realize the farm needs to raise its stock. Literally.
We have more grass than we need. We don't have enough animals. So for us, that was a big moment to say, like, we need to keep scaling up. And that's kind of our biggest thing to do to increase our profitability right now.
Perhaps the most important lesson the owners of Scuttleship Farm have learned is it's okay to put profits and pasture aside, at least for a little while.
We actually added business hours, like 6 p.m. quitting time. That's super healthy, because on a farm, there's never an end to the problems. There's always a fire to put out. There's always a project you should be working on. And so taking it and applying the principles you would to any other job was really helpful for our life as well as for our business. You get more done in the hours you're on, and then when you're off, you can live a little.
Sustainable farming and sustainable living. Now that's good business. In Panton, I'm Keith Silva with Across the Fence.
What a beautiful farm. So if you're wondering where Scuttleship Farm got its name, it's not far from where Benedict Arnold ordered his ship scuttled or sunk after the Americans were defeated by the British at the Battle of Valcour Island. Joining me now is Jen Colby. She's the Pasture Program Coordinator for UVM's Extension Center for Sustainable Agriculture. Jen was instrumental in bringing the Ranching for Profit School here to Vermont. Thank you for that. Great to have you with us.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
So, how often is it that you work with farmers that are better at farming than at being business owners?
Almost all the time. It's really what we're trained to do. I mean, and I say this as a farmer myself, and we learn all kinds of things. Annie had it straight on. We're really good at raising animals. We're really good at being really productive. And we don't always stop and take the time to figure out what's going to actually make us profitable.
So, maybe Vance just, why is it such a challenge for farmers to run their own business? What is that mind shift they have to make?
So a major mind shift that I came out of personally, and I think this speaks to a lot of farmers, is we think that if we do a really good job in producing healthy animals, then we will automatically be profitable. Or we think that we are good farmers, and we are good farmers. But the big mental shift for me was that farming can be profitable. And that's not really what we all joke about. It's not like, how do you make $1 million in farming? You start with 2. Like, that's just always the joke, right? That's what we all grew up with. And I think part of it is the mental shift that we can.
Well, and one of the lessons from Ranching for Profit School is the balance in time that you spend on your farm business instead of in it. So go a little deeper with that.
Totally. So Dave talks about that under the Pareto principle, which is the 80-20 theory you may have heard of. So that is that 20% of our time gets 80% of the results, and 80% of our time gets 20% of the results. So if you want to be more effective, then you work on your 20%. And so working on the business is 20%. If you do that 20% of your time, you'll improve things. So it doesn't have to be a lot, but that's 2 mornings a week.
So so how do you do that? I mean, you're doing this. You have to do this. You're a farmer.
I'm doing this, and I'm balancing this with an off-farm job and building a farm business at the same time. So what I've done is take 2 mornings a week. One of them is a weekend morning, and one of them is a weekday morning, where I've shifted my work schedule so that I can do 1 morning a week working on my farm business too. Wow. So, and thinking about big picture stuff, running numbers, and thinking about things I should be doing and should not be doing. Sometimes should not be doing is more important than what we are doing.
Okay, that stuff that only makes the $5 an hour.
Absolutely.
Rather than the other.
Should we really be doing this because it's making us really stressed out?
Right,
Yeah.
right. So the farmers that we met in the video have a fairly new and very specific farm. Does it get more complicated the longer you've had a farm, or a more diverse farm, or?
More enterprises could potentially could be a great thing. Fewer enterprises could be a great thing. Part of what the school has taught us is how to evaluate different enterprises. Doesn't matter how long you've been operating, but we've been given the tools to evaluate the things that work, which could be lots of them, could be not so many, could mean we want to keep lots, but we have to hire people to be able to run some of those other things, to be able to, take time for ourselves too.
And that's a huge step, because of course people are expensive. That's a big expense.
Absolutely.
But you can't do it all yourself.
We can't do it all ourselves, and that's what we've been trying to do for way too long. I speak again from personal experience, having done that. I've been running my own farm for almost 20 years, and I am working on orienting a young fellow I'm hiring part-time right now, so that I can work on my business and he can move my sheep a couple days a week.
Or even getting somebody to help you with the numbers if you're not a numbers person.
Absolutely, hiring an accountant could be a really great thing too. So yeah.
Or not. So are you planning on bringing this program back to UVM?
So these were some one-time funds that helped. We found out about Dave and Ranching for Profit School. They had never come east of the Mississippi before. They're very well known for 40 years west of the Mississippi. So we don't necessarily know if we're going to bring him back, but we're really excited that we're so overwhelmed by the positive response from New England that they're actually going to hold another school in Albany next February.
Okay, awesome.
On their own. So.
And to find out more information about that, where do people go?
So I would say certainly come to the UVM Extension Center for Sustainable Agriculture website, and also Ranch Management Consultants is the .com is the organization that does this.
Which is perfect information for farmers as well, not
Figure
just
out
ranchers.
what works for you. That's all we hope.
Okay, Jen, thank you so much
Thanks,
for
Ray.
bringing this to our attention.
Absolutely.
And thank you for joining us on Across the Fence. I'm Fran Stoddard.